The red sandstone cliffs of Zion National Park stood silent under the scorching July sun of 2017, their ancient faces weathered by millions of years of wind and water. Among the thousands of visitors who flocked to Utah's crown jewel that summer was 28-year-old Marcus Thompson, an adventure photographer from Denver, Colorado, whose passion for capturing the untamed beauty of the American Southwest had brought him to some of the most remote corners of the region. Marcus was not your typical weekend warrior. With over a decade of hiking experience under his belt, he had conquered peaks in Colorado, navigated slot canyons in Arizona, and documented his journeys through a popular photography blog that had garnered him a modest but dedicated following. His trademark was always carrying his trusty Gopro camera, a device that had captured countless moments of breathtaking scenery and heart-pounding adventures. On the morning of July 15th, Marcus set out from his campsite at Watchman Campground with a plan that would have made even experienced canyon guides pause. His destination was Pine Creek Canyon, a technical slot canyon known for its stunning beauty but also for its unpredictable flash flood potential and challenging terrain. The weather forecast showed clear skies, but in the desert southwest, conditions can change faster than most people realize. Marcus had meticulously planned his route, studying topographic maps and consulting online forums where experienced canyoneers shared their knowledge. Pine Creek Canyon was rated as a moderately difficult descent, requiring rappelling skills and the ability to navigate through narrow passages carved by centuries of rushing water. The canyon's reputation for spectacular photography opportunities had drawn Marcus despite the inherent risks. That morning he checked his gear twice, as was his habit. His backpack contained the essentials: rope, harness, helmet, first aid kit, emergency shelter, water purification tablets, and enough food for 3 days, though he planned to complete the canyon in one long day. Most importantly, his GoPro was securely attached to his chest harness, ready to document what he hoped would be another stunning addition to his portfolio. The trailhead was nearly empty when Marcus began his descent into the canyon around 7 in the morning. The early hour meant cooler temperatures and the golden light that photographers prize above all else. As he made his way down the initial trail, the familiar excitement of entering a new landscape filled him with energy. The walls of the canyon began to close in around him, creating the cathedral-like atmosphere that made Slot Canyon so magical. For the first few hours, everything proceeded according to plan. Marcus documented his progress, capturing images of the intricate patterns carved into the sandstone walls and the way morning light filtered down from the narrow opening above. His GoPro recorded his steady breathing and occasional words of amazement as he encountered particularly stunning formations. The technical sections of the canyon required careful navigation. Marcus had to set up rappels using natural rock anchors, carefully testing each placement before committing his full weight to the rope. The narrow passages required him to remove his backpack in several locations, passing it through separately before squeezing through himself. These maneuvers were routine for someone with his experience, but they required constant attention and proper technique. As the day progressed, the character of the canyon began to change. The walls grew taller and narrower, and the floor became increasingly sandy and uneven. Marcus noticed that the sand appeared to have been disturbed recently, though he attributed this to wildlife or the occasional flash flood that scoured these canyons clean. The silence was profound, broken only by the sound of his footsteps and the occasional call of a raven echoing off the canyon walls. Around midday, Marcus reached what appeared to be a critical junction in the canyon system. His maps indicated that the main route continued straight ahead, but a smaller tributary canyon branched off to the left. The side canyon was not part of his planned route, but it appeared to lead toward an area where he had seen intriguing rock formations from satellite imagery during his planning phase. This is where Marcus made a decision that would change everything. Driven by his photographer's curiosity and confidence in his abilities, he decided to explore the side canyon briefly before continuing on his main route. He estimated that a quick reconnaissance would add no more than an hour to his day, and the potential for unique photographs was too tempting to pass up. The side canyon proved to be more complex than it had appeared from the junction. The walls were extremely narrow in places, requiring Marcus to turn sideways to squeeze through. The floor was covered with smooth, rounded rocks that made footing treacherous. As he progressed deeper into this unexpected detour, his excitement began to mix with a growing awareness that he was moving into truly remote territory. The GoPro continued to record as Marcus navigated through increasingly challenging terrain. His commentary became more focused on the technical aspects of his movement, noting handholds and potential hazards. The light filtering down from above grew dimmer as the walls closed in, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that was both beautiful and slightly unsettling. After what felt like 30 minutes of careful progress, Marcus found himself in a chamber that was unlike anything he had encountered before. The walls opened up into a roughly circular space perhaps 20 feet in diameter, with a pool of crystal-clear water occupying much of the floor. The water appeared to be several feet deep, fed by a small seepage from somewhere high above. The chamber was breathtakingly beautiful, with smooth, flowing lines carved into the rock and subtle colors ranging from deep red to pale orange. Marcus spent considerable time photographing this hidden gem, using various angles and lighting techniques to capture its essence. The GoPro recorded his excitement as he discovered what he believed might be an undocumented feature within the canyon system. The water in the pool was remarkably clear and appeared to be quite deep, though its ultimate depth was impossible to determine from his vantage point. The challenges began when Marcus attempted to leave the chamber. The route he had used to enter proved to be easier to descend than to climb back up. The smooth rock offered few handholds, and the rounded stones at the bottom provided unstable footing for any climbing attempts. After several unsuccessful tries to retrace his steps, Marcus began to feel the first stirrings of concern. As an experienced outdoorsman, Marcus knew that panic was his worst enemy. He methodically explored every possible exit from the chamber, testing potential climbing routes and looking for alternative passages. The chamber appeared to be a dead end, carved by water over geological time, but with only one viable entrance and exit. The seepage that fed the pool came from cracks too small to offer any escape route. Hours passed as Marcus worked to find a solution. His GoPro captured his increasingly systematic approach to the problem, documenting his attempts to stack rocks to create makeshift steps and his careful examination of every crack and crevice in the chamber walls. The afternoon light grew weaker as the sun moved across the sky far above, making the chamber dimmer and more claustrophobic. As evening approached, Marcus faced the reality that he was trapped in a situation that his experience and preparation had not anticipated. The chamber that had seemed like such a wonderful discovery was becoming his prison. His water supply was adequate for several days, and his food would last even longer, but the psychological pressure of being trapped in such a confined space was unlike anything he had experienced. The temperature in the chamber remained relatively stable due to the thermal mass of the surrounding rock, but Marcus knew that desert nights could be cold. He set up his emergency shelter in the driest corner of the chamber and prepared for what might be a long wait. His cell phone had lost signal hours earlier, long before he had reached this remote location. On his first night in the chamber, Marcus maintained his composure and continued to document his situation with the GoPro. He recorded detailed observations about the chamber, his attempts to escape, and his plans for the following day. His voice remained steady, though careful listeners might have detected the underlying tension as he faced the reality of his predicament. The second day brought renewed efforts to escape, but also the dawning realization that his situation was more serious than he had initially believed. Marcus had noticed that the water level in the pool seemed to fluctuate slightly, suggesting some kind of underground drainage system. This observation led him to consider whether the chamber might be subject to flooding under certain conditions, adding a new dimension of concern to his situation. His attempts to signal for help were limited by the depth of the chamber and the narrow opening far above. Even if search and rescue teams were looking for him, which they would not be for several more days given his planned itinerary, the likelihood of being found in this hidden location was minimal. Marcus understood that his survival would depend on his own efforts and his ability to maintain his mental and physical strength. The GoPro continued to record as Marcus established routines to maintain his sanity and physical condition. He rationed his food and water carefully, performed exercises to stay warm and maintain his strength, and continued to explore every possible escape route with methodical persistence. His professional photographer's eye led him to notice subtle changes in the light and water levels that might have escaped a less observant person. Days blended together in the constant twilight of the chamber. Marcus continued to document his experiences, creating what amounted to a comprehensive record of his struggle for survival. His commentary evolved from technical observations to more personal reflections on his life, his relationships, and the choices that had led him to this remote location. The psychological challenges of prolonged isolation in such a confined space proved to be as difficult as the physical aspects of survival. Marcus drew on meditation techniques and mental exercises to maintain his emotional equilibrium. He found himself talking to the GoPro as if it were a companion, sharing thoughts and observations that helped him process his situation. As his supplies dwindled and his physical condition began to deteriorate, Marcus faced the possibility that he might not survive his ordeal. The GoPro captured his efforts to leave messages for his family and friends, expressing his love and gratitude for the experiences they had shared. These recordings became increasingly poignant as his situation grew more desperate. The chamber that had initially seemed like a photographer's paradise began to feel more like a geological tomb. The constant sound of dripping water, which had initially been soothing, became a reminder of the passage of time and his isolation from the outside world. Marcus's commentary became more philosophical as he contemplated the irony of being trapped in a place of such beauty. Despite his declining condition, Marcus never completely gave up hope. He continued to monitor changes in the water level and to look for any sign that conditions might change in his favor. His background in outdoor survival served him well, but the unique challenges of his situation pushed him beyond the limits of conventional survival wisdom. The final recordings on the GoPro captured Marcus's growing weakness, but also his remarkable dignity in the face of an impossible situation. He used his remaining strength to document as much as possible about the chamber and his experience, perhaps hoping that this information might help future explorers avoid his fate, or at least understand what had happened to him. When Marcus's strength finally failed him, the GoPro continued recording until its battery was exhausted. The device, designed to withstand extreme conditions, sealed his final moments in its waterproof housing and settled into the clear water of the pool that had been both beautiful and deadly. The outside world remained unaware of Marcus's fate for quite some time. His planned return date came and went before his family began to worry. When they finally reported him missing, search and rescue teams faced the challenge of covering thousands of square miles of rugged canyon country with limited clues about his intended route. The search for Marcus Thompson became one of the largest missing person operations in Utah's recent history. Teams of professional rescuers, volunteers, and fellow photographers combed the known trails and popular photography locations throughout Zion National Park and the surrounding areas. Helicopters flew grid patterns over the vast landscape, while ground teams explored slot canyons and remote areas that Marcus might have visited. Despite the intensive search efforts, no trace of Marcus was found. The remote side canyon where he had met his fate was not included in the areas that searchers considered likely destinations. His planned route through Pine Creek Canyon showed no signs of his passage, leading investigators to conclude that he had never reached that location or had taken an entirely different route. As weeks turned to months, the active search was gradually scaled back, though it was never officially closed. Marcus's family maintained hope and continued to organize private search efforts with the help of volunteers from the photography and hiking communities. His story became a cautionary tale shared among outdoor enthusiasts about the importance of sticking to planned routes and the dangers of exploring alone in remote areas. The mystery of Marcus Thompson's disappearance became part of the folklore of Utah's canyon country. Online forums dedicated to missing persons and unsolved mysteries featured his case prominently, with amateur investigators proposing various theories about what might have happened to him. Some suggested that he had fallen victim to a flash flood. Others theorized that he had become lost and perished from exposure in a remote location. Life went on for those who had known Marcus, though his absence left a permanent mark on his family and friends. His photography website became a memorial of sorts, with visitors leaving comments about how his images had inspired their own adventures. His parents established a scholarship fund for outdoor photography students, hoping to honor his memory by supporting others who shared his passion. Years passed with no new developments in the case. The initial intensity of the search gave way to the quiet persistence of cold case investigators who occasionally revisited the file when new techniques or information became available. Marcus's name appeared on missing person databases and missing hiker registries, but the trail had grown cold. Meanwhile, the hidden chamber where Marcus had spent his final days remained undisturbed. The pool continued to collect the gentle seepage from above, and the walls reflected the changing light that filtered down through the narrow opening. The GoPro rested at the bottom of the pool, its sealed housing protecting the precious record of Marcus's final days. The desert environment is harsh but also preservative. The dry air and stable temperatures in the chamber meant that evidence of Marcus's presence remained largely unchanged. His emergency shelter, his remaining gear, and his body were all preserved in the unique microclimate of the underground chamber, waiting for the day when someone might discover them. That day came 6 years later, in the spring of 2023, when a group of experienced canyoneers decided to explore some of the lesser-known tributaries of the Pine Creek Canyon system. The group included several members of a local search and rescue team who were familiar with the Marcus Thompson case, though they were not actively searching for him during their recreational exploration. The discovery was made by Sarah Chen, a geologist and experienced canyon explorer who was part of the group. She had squeezed through the narrow entrance to the chamber while the rest of her team waited outside, drawn by the sound of dripping water that suggested an interesting geological feature. When she emerged into the chamber, the first thing she noticed was the pristine pool of water, which seemed almost impossibly clear and inviting after the dusty confines of the narrow passage. It was only when Sarah moved closer to the edge of the pool that she noticed something unusual floating near the surface. At first, she thought it might be a piece of debris that had somehow found its way into this remote location. As she looked more carefully, she realized that she was looking at a small electronic device, still tethered to what appeared to be a chest harness floating just below the surface. The recognition of what she was seeing hit Sarah with stunning force. She immediately called out to her teammates, her voice echoing strangely in the confined space of the chamber. The urgency in her tone brought the entire group squeezing through the narrow passage to see what she had discovered. The team's training took over as they processed the scene. They immediately recognized that they had stumbled upon what might be a crime scene, or, at minimum, the location of someone's death. They carefully documented the chamber with their own cameras while avoiding disturbing anything more than necessary. The floating GoPro was carefully retrieved using a hiking pole, and the team prepared to exit the canyon as quickly as possible to notify authorities. The county sheriff's office responded to the team's report with a full investigation team that included crime scene specialists, a coroner, and search and rescue personnel familiar with technical rope access. The narrow entrance to the chamber presented significant logistical challenges for the recovery operation, requiring specialized equipment and techniques to safely extract evidence and remains. When investigators finally gained access to the chamber, they found a scene that was both tragic and remarkably well preserved. Marcus's remains were found in a corner of the chamber where he had apparently made his final camp. His gear was still organized and functional, a testament to his experience and discipline even in his final days. The dry air and stable temperature had preserved everything much better than would have been possible in most outdoor environments. The real breakthrough in understanding what had happened to Marcus came when investigators examined the GoPro that had been floating in the pool. The device's waterproof housing had kept its contents completely dry for 6 years, preserving not only the video files but also the device's memory and operating system. When the memory card was extracted and examined, it contained a complete record of Marcus's final days. The footage revealed the entire sequence of events that had led to Marcus's fate. Investigators could follow his route through the canyon system, watch his discovery of the chamber, and witness his increasingly desperate attempts to escape. More importantly, they could hear his own account of his situation through his commentary on the recordings. The investigation revealed that Marcus had done everything right according to standard survival protocols. His rationing of supplies had been exemplary, his attempts to signal for help had been appropriate given his circumstances, and his mental discipline had been remarkable under extreme stress. The tragedy was not the result of poor planning or reckless behavior, but rather a case of simple bad luck combined with an understandable moment of curiosity. The recovery of Marcus's remains brought closure to his family after 6 years of uncertainty. The funeral service was attended by hundreds of people from the outdoor photography and hiking communities, many of whom had been touched by his work or had participated in the search efforts over the years. His parents spoke about their gratitude for finally knowing what had happened to their son, and their amazement at his courage and dignity in his final days. The GoPro footage, while too personal and graphic to be shared publicly, provided invaluable information for search and rescue teams and outdoor safety experts. The recordings offered unique insights into the psychological and physical challenges of extended isolation in extreme circumstances. Several safety protocols and search procedures were updated based on lessons learned from Marcus's experience. The chamber where Marcus had spent his final days became the subject of significant debate within the canyoneering community. Some argued that it should be marked and made known to prevent future accidents, while others contended that publicizing its location might attract inexperienced explorers who could face similar dangers. Ultimately, Local authorities decided to document the location for search and rescue purposes, while not making it widely known to the general public. The discovery of the Gopro after 6 years underwater raised interesting questions about the geology and hydrology of the chamber. Scientists studying the footage and the chamber itself determined that the pool was fed by a complex underground water system that occasionally experienced significant level changes due to rainfall and snowmelt in the wider watershed. This explained the fluctuations that Marcus had observed and also accounted for how the Gopro had eventually floated to the surface. Marcus Thompson's story became a powerful reminder of both the beauty and the danger inherent in exploring the wilderness areas of the American Southwest. His case was studied in outdoor education programs and search and rescue training courses as an example of how even experienced and well-prepared adventurers can find themselves in situations beyond their control. The photography community honored Marcus's memory by creating an annual award in his name for outdoor photographers who demonstrate both artistic excellence and responsible exploration practices. The award criteria specifically emphasize the importance of sharing location information with others and maintaining communication schedules during solo adventures. His family established a memorial fund that supports search and rescue operations in Utah's canyon country. The fund has helped purchase specialized equipment for recovering people from technical terrain and has supported training programs for volunteer rescue personnel. In a sense, Marcus's tragedy has helped save other lives by improving the capabilities of those who respond to similar emergencies. The story of the floating Gopro captured public imagination far beyond the outdoor community. The 6-year delay between Marcus's disappearance and the discovery of the camera created a narrative that seemed almost fictional in its dramatic timing. The idea that his final moments had been preserved in perfect digital clarity after floating in an underground pool for over 2,000 days resonated with people's fascination with technology's ability to preserve human experience. The case also highlighted the challenges faced by families of missing persons, who must live with uncertainty while hoping for closure that may never come. Marcus's parents became advocates for improved coordination between different search and rescue agencies and for better databases to track missing persons in wilderness areas. For the canyoneering community, Marcus's story reinforced the importance of communication and route planning. Many groups now require members to file detailed itineraries and check in regularly during solo trips. GPS tracking devices and satellite communicators have become more common among serious canyon explorers. Though these technologies would not have helped Marcus due to the shielded nature of his location, the chamber itself has been left largely undisturbed since the recovery operation. Occasionally, authorized researchers visit the location to study its unique geological features and to better understand the hydrology that led to the Gopro's eventual appearance at the surface. The pool continues to collect water from the seepage above, and the walls continue to reflect the changing light patterns that fascinated Marcus during his final days. The broader lesson of Marcus Thompson's story extends beyond the specific circumstances of his tragedy. His experience demonstrates the humbling power of nature and the importance of respecting the wilderness even when we think we understand it. The slot canyons of Utah are geological masterpieces, carved over millions of years by the patient work of water and wind, but they are also environments where human-scale problems can become unsurmountable very quickly. Marcus's dedication to documenting his experience even in his final days created a record that has value far beyond the immediate circumstances of his disappearance. His footage provides insights into human psychology under extreme stress, the challenges of technical rescue in remote locations, and the importance of maintaining hope and dignity in the face of impossible circumstances. The story also illustrates the power of persistence in search and rescue operations. While the official search for Marcus was scaled back after several months, the informal network of outdoor enthusiasts who continued to keep his case in mind ultimately led to the discovery of his fate. The canyoneers who found the chamber were not actively searching for Marcus, but their familiarity with his case helped them recognize the significance of what they had discovered. In the end, Marcus Thompson's story is one of passion for the natural world, respect for the power of wild places, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming challenges. His legacy lives on through the safety protocols that were improved because of his case, the rescue equipment that was purchased with funds raised in his memory, and the inspiration he provided to countless outdoor photographers and adventurers. The floating Gopro that revealed his fate after 6 years has become a symbol of how technology can preserve human experience in ways that previous generations could never have imagined. Marcus's final recordings serve as both a memorial to his life and a reminder of the precious fragility of human existence in the vast landscapes of the American Southwest. Today, when experienced canyoneers explore the slot canyons of Utah, many carry a small additional measure of caution inspired by Marcus's story. They check their routes more carefully, communicate their plans more thoroughly, and carry emergency equipment with a deeper appreciation for how quickly adventure can turn to survival. In this way, his tragedy continues to protect others who share his love for these extraordinary landscapes. The investigation into Marcus Thompson's case continued long after the recovery of his remains, as forensic experts and technology specialists worked to extract every possible piece of information from the remarkably preserved Gopro device. The camera had spent over 2,000 days submerged in the mineral-rich water of the underground pool, yet its advanced engineering and waterproof sealing had protected not only the video files, but also metadata that provided investigators with precise timestamps and GPS coordinates from before Marcus entered the canyon system. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a digital forensics expert brought in to analyze the device, was amazed by the preservation of the data. The GoPro's memory card contained not just the final recordings from the chamber, but also footage from Marcus's previous adventures over several months. This additional material provided investigators with insights into his hiking patterns, his decision-making processes, and his level of experience in similar terrain. The analysis revealed that Marcus had been even more methodical than initially apparent. GPS data showed that he had visited several overlook points around Pine Creek Canyon in the days before his final hike, studying the terrain and planning multiple potential routes. His earlier footage demonstrated advanced rope work and navigation skills, confirming that his decision to explore the side canyon had not been made recklessly, but as a calculated risk by someone confident in his abilities. Perhaps most remarkably, the camera had continued recording intermittently, even after Marcus's passing, triggered by motion sensors that responded to changes in water level and occasional wildlife that had somehow found their way into the chamber. These later recordings provided scientists with valuable data about the underground hydrology and helped explain how the camera had eventually reached the surface of the pool. The recovery operation itself became a case study in technical rescue procedures. The narrow entrance to the chamber required specialized equipment and techniques that pushed the boundaries of what rescue teams had previously attempted. New protocols were developed specifically for accessing confined spaces in slot canyon environments, and several pieces of custom equipment were designed based on challenges encountered during the Marcus Thompson recovery. Commander Jake Morrison, who led the recovery operation, later established a training program that used the chamber as a realistic scenario for rescue personnel. With the permission of Marcus's family and appropriate safety measures, selected teams of professional rescuers practiced the complex procedures required to access similar locations. This training program has since been credited with improving response times and success rates in comparable rescue situations. The scientific community also took significant interest in the chamber and its unique properties. Hydrologists studied the underground water system that fed the pool, discovering a complex network of interconnected cavities that extended for miles beneath the surrounding canyon system. The water chemistry analysis revealed that the pool was fed by ancient groundwater that had been filtering through the sandstone for hundreds of years, creating the exceptionally clear and mineral-rich environment that had helped preserve Marcus's equipment. Geologists determined that the chamber itself was a relatively recent formation in geological terms, carved by water action during flash flood events over the past several thousand years. The smooth flowing walls that had captivated Marcus were the result of countless episodes of rushing water that had gradually sculpted the space into its current form. The team also identified stress patterns in the rock that suggested the chamber was still evolving, with ongoing erosion that would eventually change its configuration. The discovery led to the identification of several similar chambers throughout the region, raising new questions about the extent of the underground water systems beneath Utah's canyon country. Several of these newly discovered spaces showed evidence of occasional wildlife use, suggesting that they served as important water sources for desert animals during dry periods. Marcus's family became deeply involved in the scientific and educational aspects of the discovery. His sister, Dr. Amanda Thompson, a professor of environmental science at the University of Colorado, worked with researchers to ensure that her brother's case contributed meaningfully to outdoor safety and geological understanding. She established the Marcus Thompson Research Foundation, which funds studies of slot canyon hydrology, and supports the development of new rescue technologies. The Foundation's first major project involved creating detailed three-dimensional maps of known slot canyon systems using advanced ground-penetrating radar and drone technology. These maps are now used by search and rescue teams to better understand the complex underground geography that characterizes much of Utah's canyon country. The mapping project has already led to the discovery of several previously unknown chambers and passages. Dr. Amanda Thompson also worked with equipment manufacturers to develop improved emergency communication devices specifically designed for slot canyon environments. Traditional satellite communicators often fail to work in narrow canyons due to the limited sky visibility, but new technologies using mesh networking and emergency relay systems show promise for improving communication capabilities in these challenging locations. The psychological impact of Marcus's story extended far beyond the immediate outdoor community. Mental health professionals who studied his final recordings noted his remarkable resilience and positive attitude, even in the face of certain doom. His ability to maintain detailed documentation and rational thinking throughout his ordeal became a subject of study for researchers interested in human behavior under extreme stress. Dr. Sarah Kim, a trauma psychologist who analyzed the recordings with the family's permission, observed that Marcus's background in photography and his habit of documenting his experiences may have provided him with a crucial coping mechanism. The act of recording his thoughts and observations seemed to help him maintain his mental structure and sense of purpose, even as his physical situation became increasingly desperate. These insights have been incorporated into survival training programs, where instructors now emphasize the psychological benefits of maintaining documentation and routine activities during emergency situations. The concept of purpose-driven survival, partly inspired by Marcus's example, has become an important component of wilderness survival education. The outdoor photography community responded to Marcus's story by establishing new safety standards and communication protocols specifically for photographers working in remote locations. The Professional Adventure Photographers Association created the Thompson Safety Guidelines, which require members to file detailed location plans and maintain regular check-in schedules during solo photography expeditions. Camera and equipment manufacturers also took note of the case, using it as an example of how their products might serve critical roles in emergency situations. Several companies began marketing their devices specifically for their emergency documentation capabilities, while others developed new features designed to help locate missing persons. GPS tracking that operates independently of the main device functions became a standard feature on many professional-grade cameras. The story of the floating Gopro inspired documentary filmmakers and led to the production of several educational films about slot canyon safety. One particularly well-received documentary, featuring interviews with Marcus's family and the rescue team members, has been used in outdoor education programs across the country. The film carefully balances the tragic elements of the story with practical safety information, helping viewers understand both the beauty and the dangers of slot canyon exploration. Local business communities in Utah also felt the impact of Marcus's story. Tour guide services expanded their safety briefings to include more detailed information about the risks of exploring unmarked routes, and several companies began offering specialized courses in slot canyon navigation and emergency procedures. The town of Springdale, which serves as a gateway to Zion National Park, erected a memorial to Marcus and other lost hikers, serving as a sobering reminder to visitors about the importance of preparation and caution. The chamber where Marcus spent his final days has been carefully studied and documented, but access remains restricted to authorized research and rescue training purposes. The pool continues to maintain its crystal-clear appearance, and the water level still fluctuates with seasonal changes in the underground water system. Motion-activated cameras have been installed to monitor the chamber for both scientific purposes and to ensure that it remains undisturbed. Recent analysis of these monitoring cameras revealed that the chamber experiences significant changes during major storm events, with water levels rising dramatically and currents flowing through the space with considerable force. This discovery helped explain how Marcus's GoPro had eventually been carried to the surface and provided additional validation of his observations about changing water conditions during his time in the chamber. The long-term legacy of Marcus Thompson's story continues to evolve as new technologies and understanding develop. His case has been cited in numerous academic papers on topics ranging from wilderness rescue procedures to the psychology of survival situations. The detailed record he created of his experience provides researchers with unprecedented insights into the progression of a wilderness emergency from the perspective of the person experiencing it. Educational institutions have incorporated his story into their outdoor recreation and wilderness studies programs, using it as a comprehensive case study that touches on navigation, risk assessment, emergency procedures, and survival psychology. Students studying these programs often cite Marcus's documentation and decision-making as examples of both excellent preparation and the unpredictable nature of wilderness exploration. The technological aspects of the story have also had lasting impact. The fact that a consumer-grade camera could preserve critical information for over 6 years in such challenging conditions has influenced the development of emergency recording devices. Several companies now manufacture specialized devices designed to function as emergency beacons and documentation tools, inspired partly by the role that Marcus's GoPro played in revealing his fate. As climate change continues to affect weather patterns in the southwestern United States, the hydrology of slot canyon systems like the one where Marcus was trapped is becoming increasingly unpredictable. The research initiated by his case has become even more relevant as search and rescue teams prepare for changing conditions and new challenges in these environments. The red sandstone cliffs of Zion National Park continue to draw thousands of visitors each year, just as they did when Marcus Thompson first set out on his fateful adventure in 2017. The beauty that attracted him remains unchanged, as does the inherent danger that comes with exploring places where humans are visitors in a landscape shaped by forces far greater than ourselves. His story reminds us that the wilderness demands both our respect and our humility, and that even the most prepared among us are ultimately subject to the ancient powers that continue to shape these magnificent and dangerous places. Yet through his tragedy, Marcus Thompson achieved a form of immortality that he could never have anticipated. His careful documentation, his dignity under impossible circumstances, and the scientific discoveries that followed his case have created a legacy that continues to protect and educate others who share his passion for these extraordinary landscapes. The ripple effects of Marcus's story extended into unexpected areas of research and development. The pharmaceutical industry took interest in the preservation properties of the mineral-rich water in the chamber, leading to studies about natural preservation environments and their potential applications in medical storage and research. The unique chemical composition of the pool water, with its high mineral content and stable temperature, had created conditions that surpassed many artificial preservation methods. Dr. Michael Chen, a biochemist at Stanford University, led a team that analyzed water samples from the chamber and similar pools throughout the region. Their research revealed previously unknown mineral combinations that showed promise for various medical and scientific applications. The study, published in the Journal of Environmental Chemistry, credited Marcus's case with drawing attention to these previously unstudied microenvironments. The insurance industry also took note of Marcus's case, using it as a catalyst for developing new policies and coverage options specifically designed for adventure sports and wilderness photography. Several companies created specialized coverage that includes funding for extended search operations and technical rescue equipment, recognizing that traditional policies were inadequate for the unique risks faced by serious outdoor enthusiasts. Marcus's former colleagues in the photography world organized an annual expedition to document and map uncharted areas of Utah's canyon country, always working in teams and with extensive safety protocols inspired by his case. The Marcus Thompson Memorial Expedition has become one of the most respected photography projects in the Southwest, producing stunning documentation of remote areas while maintaining the highest safety standards. The expedition's most significant discovery came during their third year, when team members located another hidden chamber system approximately 15 miles from where Marcus had been found. This new system, dubbed the Thompson Chambers in his honor, contained several pools and passages that showed evidence of occasional wildlife use but no signs of human visitation. The discovery reinforced theories about the extent of underground water systems in the region and provided additional locations for scientific study. Local Native American tribes, whose ancestors had lived in the region for thousands of years, shared traditional knowledge about water sources and hidden places in the canyon country following Marcus's discovery. Tribal elders revealed that their oral histories contained references to sacred pools in hidden chambers, some of which matched descriptions of the geological formations being studied by scientists. This collaboration between traditional knowledge and modern science opened new avenues for understanding the region's hydrology and cultural significance. The Navajo Nation and other tribal representatives worked with researchers to ensure that any scientific studies were conducted with appropriate respect for the cultural and spiritual significance of these places. This cooperation led to the development of new protocols for conducting research in culturally sensitive areas and helped bridge the gap between scientific inquiry and traditional environmental knowledge. Marcus's parents, Robert and Linda Thompson, established a scholarship program at his alma mater that specifically supports students interested in combining technology with outdoor exploration and safety. The first recipients of the Thompson Technology Scholarship developed a mobile application that helps hikers navigate Slot Canyon safely by providing real-time weather updates, flash flood warnings, and communication tools designed to work in challenging terrain. The application, called Canyon Guard, incorporates lessons learned from Marcus's case and includes features such as automatic location sharing, emergency contact systems, and detailed route planning tools. The app has been downloaded by thousands of outdoor enthusiasts and has been credited with preventing several potential emergency situations through its early warning systems and communication features. Robert Thompson, Marcus's father, became an advocate for improved wilderness communication infrastructure. Working with telecommunications companies and government agencies, he pushed for the installation of emergency communication relays in popular outdoor recreation areas. His efforts led to the placement of several emergency communication towers in remote areas of Utah, Colorado, and Arizona, providing cell coverage and emergency services access in locations that had previously been communication dead zones. The engineering challenges involved in installing these communication systems in rugged terrain led to innovations in remote infrastructure deployment. Solar-powered repeaters and satellite communication nodes were developed specifically for wilderness applications, technologies that have since found applications in disaster relief and remote area development projects worldwide. Meanwhile, the scientific study of the chamber where Marcus had been trapped revealed additional unexpected discoveries. Advanced ground-penetrating radar surveys of the surrounding area identified a network of similar chambers and passages, some of which contained pools while others were dry. The mapping project, funded by the Thompson Research Foundation, created the most detailed underground survey ever conducted in a Slot Canyon environment. The surveys revealed that the underground water system was far more extensive than anyone had previously suspected, stretching for dozens of miles and connecting to surface water sources throughout the region. This discovery had implications for understanding flash flood patterns, groundwater management, and ecosystem dynamics in desert environments. The research attracted international attention from hydrologists and environmental scientists studying similar formations in other parts of the world. One particularly significant finding was the discovery of ancient organic material preserved in some of the deeper pools, including plant matter and even insect specimens that were thousands of years old. Carbon dating of these materials provided insights into historical climate patterns and environmental changes in the region, creating an unexpected paleoclimatic record preserved in the underground chambers. The forensic analysis of Marcus's case also contributed to improvements in search and rescue procedures worldwide. His methodical documentation provided investigators with unprecedented insights into how people make decisions under extreme stress and how survival situations evolve over time. These insights were incorporated into training programs for search and rescue personnel, emergency medical technicians, and wilderness guides. Dr. Patricia Williams, a survival psychology expert who studied Marcus's recordings, identified several decision-making patterns that have since been incorporated into survival training curricula. Her research showed how maintaining routine activities and documentation can serve as crucial psychological anchors during prolonged isolation, findings that have been applied in various emergency preparedness programs. The case also highlighted the importance of family persistence in missing person investigations. Linda Thompson's refusal to give up hope and her continued coordination of search efforts became a model for other families facing similar situations. She established a support network for families of missing outdoor enthusiasts, providing resources and emotional support during extended searches and uncertain waiting periods. This support network evolved into a formal organization called Families for Wilderness Safety, which now assists dozens of families each year and advocates for improved search coordination between different agencies and jurisdictions. The organization also maintains a database of missing persons in wilderness areas and works to ensure that cases receive continued attention even after official searches are scaled back. The technological preservation of Marcus's final days also sparked discussions about digital privacy and the ethics of using personal recordings in investigations and research. His family worked with legal experts to establish guidelines for how such materials should be handled, balancing the potential scientific and educational value with respect for personal privacy and family wishes. These guidelines influenced legislation in several states regarding the use of digital evidence in wilderness emergency situations and established precedents for how families maintain control over personal documentation, even when it becomes part of criminal or scientific investigations. The Thompson digital privacy protocols have been adopted by law enforcement agencies across the country. The annual memorial service for Marcus, held each July 15th at an overlook point near Zion National Park, has become a gathering place for outdoor enthusiasts, safety advocates, and researchers whose work has been influenced by his case. The service combines remembrance with education, featuring presentations about wilderness safety, new rescue technologies, and ongoing research projects inspired by his story. The memorial location was carefully chosen to provide spectacular views of the canyon country that Marcus loved, while remaining accessible to people of all ages and abilities. A small monument at the site includes his favorite quote about the intersection of technology and wilderness exploration, along with information about the safety initiatives established in his memory. The international outdoor community also took notice of Marcus's story, with climbing and canyoneering organizations in Europe, Australia, and South America implementing safety protocols based on lessons learned from his case. The International Canyon Technical Committee incorporated elements of the Thompson Safety Guidelines into their global standards for technical canyon exploration. Adventure travel companies worldwide began referencing Marcus's case in their safety briefings and risk management procedures. His story became a standard example used in wilderness guide training programs, illustrating how even experienced and well-prepared adventurers can encounter situations beyond their control, and the importance of communication protocols and emergency planning. The photography equipment industry continued to develop products inspired by Marcus's case. Waterproof storage systems, emergency documentation devices, and communication tools specifically designed for outdoor photographers became standard equipment recommendations. Several manufacturers established partnerships with search and rescue organizations to test and refine these products in real-world conditions. The Marcus Thompson case also influenced academic research in fields ranging from geology to psychology to engineering. Universities incorporated his story into case study curricula across multiple disciplines, using it to teach students about risk assessment, emergency response, scientific methodology, and the intersection of technology with natural environments. Graduate students and researchers continue to analyze various aspects of the case, producing ongoing research that extends Marcus's influence far beyond the original circumstances of his disappearance. Recent studies have examined everything from the psychological effects of documenting one's own emergency situation to the engineering challenges of accessing confined spaces in geological formations. As climate change continues to alter weather patterns in the American Southwest, the research initiated by Marcus's case has become increasingly relevant for understanding changing hydrology and slot canyon systems. The baseline data collected from the chamber where he was found now serves as a reference point for monitoring environmental changes in these sensitive ecosystems. The story of Marcus Thompson and his floating Gopro has become more than just a tale of adventure gone wrong. It represents the complex relationship between humans and the natural world, the power of technology to preserve and reveal truth, and the capacity for tragedy to inspire positive change. His legacy continues to grow as new technologies develop, new research emerges, and new generations of outdoor enthusiasts learn from his experience. In the end, perhaps this is the greatest tribute to an adventurer's spirit, that even in loss, the journey continues to inspire and guide those who follow the same paths toward wonder and discovery. Marcus Thompson's story reminds us that every adventure carries both promise and peril, and that our greatest responsibility is to each other and to the magnificent but unforgiving landscapes that call to our sense of exploration and discovery.